Hey Henry, this is Keaton Everett with ABC, going over your pitching video from camp. We're going to go through and talk about your mechanics and your delivery and, talk a little bit. There's a couple key spots that we're going to look at and sort of talk about. You do a lot of good things. You got a good foundation of everything. You got pretty good setup, but you really get down the hill really nice. You really get extended and finish. And really for you, it's just about a couple posture things and sort of a couple initial setup things. But like I said, really solid especially for kids your age. So we'll go through and look at your initial setup, what you look like at foot strike, and look at your release point. Basically, the whole thing with mechanics is the ability to repeat everything, to get consistent, to get to a spot where we're able to do it in our sleep. It's just a matter of doing all that. And all of that starts over the rubber. It's just a matter of how you set up, how you start, dictates so much of how you're going to finish. It's almost one of the most important parts to look at through the delivery, all right? And then one other thing that we're going to look at and key off of is the lower body. Your hips especially, because that's the main driving force. That's where you get your power, your velocity, especially as you get older and get stronger. So we'll go through and look at a few things here, all right? So right off the bat, we'll start with how you're starting, all right? So right here, you come set, all right? We're going to mark where your head is and where sort of your center of gravity is, all right? And right now, you see it's sort of over your front foot, all right? So as we step through, you can see how you lean back as you lift that leg up, all right? So you might have just kind of been leaning forward just because there's a video or a side, but just get in the habit. And once those hands come set, you're loaded up on that back side. All right, so now you're loaded up here, so there's no movement backwards. All right, so instead of that front lead right here, we're already loaded back, and all it is a shift in our hips. We go from our hips, and now we just move them back to here. All right, we don't lean our posture. We don't do anything like that. All right, so that's just sort of an initial thing, just like sprinters. Their first movement's forward. We don't want to have any movement backwards, all right? So once you get back there, you do a pretty good job at holding it, all right? Now another thing I'm gonna mark, I was talking about your posture, is you're going to watch that as your leg starts to come down, there goes your posture, all right? So now we're getting way too extreme lean back over this back leg, all right? It's good to have a little bit of lean. We want your hips to lead everything. All right, but this is just almost a little bit too much, all right? We probably want to try to see you get to a point where if we're looking at just your upper body, we're not going to see a whole lot of lean back, all right? We're just going to look like it's basically perpendicular to the flat ground the whole time, all right? Probably no more than your knee, get your head back. So just think of just trying to stay a little bit taller and get more. You're basically going to get more power staying perpendicular with your hips and having your hips lean down the mound as opposed to sort of getting that lean back and losing that posture. Now you're kind of crumpling down, making yourself shorter, all right, whereas at this point, we'd still like to see, maybe a little bit of lean, maybe something like about right here, but we just don't want to get too extreme, all right? We want to try to get our power from our hips and not sort of the lean back, all right? So as you come to your foot strike, which looks like it's about right there, all right? You can notice your foot is facing towards the left-handed hitter's box, all right? So what that's telling us is that this hip and this leg has popped open early, and you've started to focus on that lower leg and that foot, all right? So where we see it happen is you can see this leg gets locked out straight and just starts swinging. It's still locked. It's swinging. Still locked, and then just swings open and just kind of keeps swinging, all right? So now that's facing that way. So what we want to try to get to at this point is we don't want, a 90-degree bend. We just want a little bit of bend as we're driving. So then right here, and where you get kind of caught up is your hips want to keep going forward, but because your body's back so far, the only place for this leg to go is to swing open, all right? So as you kind of sink forward, now this leg starts to pop open a little bit early, and that's where you get that land, all right? You get some pretty good extension, though, all right? You're landing behind your ankle. Your weight's back, which is awesome. All right. You have a pretty good opposite equal, elbows here. You got pretty good angles there. All right. So now through that release point, what you can see is this glove start to tuck back into your chest a little bit. All right. It's just a little bit, nothing too much. All right. You're still doing a pretty good job, but you can see it. We'd still want to try to see a little bit of daylight, and it could be the camera angle too, but it looks like we should still probably be able to see a little bit of glove all the way through that release point. All right. So it could be camera, like I said, but I think it looks like you're just kind of pulling off just a little bit early, but through release it's really good. All right. That leg straight. You're driving all the way through that release point. You get your head down over that front foot. All right, everything's pretty solid there through release. So, and you got a pretty good follow through. So again, it's just watch that posture. Stay nice and tall. Don't lean back too much. Don't lean forward too much. Keep those hips closed a little bit longer down the mound, and try to get more drive with your hips instead of sort of lean back with your upper body. All right, and then you're going to be in a real solid spot because everything else is really good, especially for your age. So keep up the good work. Hopefully you're able to see a few things from this and learn something for the season. So good luck this year. Thanks for making it out to camp, and hopefully we see you again with ABC.